What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to get cracking on something a little different. I know we've been working on the Subaru, but honestly I want to take a little break from it while I figure out exactly what I'm trying to do with it in order to keep that progressing. So today we are going to be working on this guy right here. The goal today, it's just a quick day before I have to go to work, so the goal is to try to extract some of the broken bolts out of there and hopefully get the valve cover off and check into seeing whether or not we actually have the HKS 272 cams or not, or just to see kind of what's going on, because eventually I'm going to replace the valve cover gasket anyway. So I figured might as well get going today. It's finally a nicer day out. You can see it's kind of sunny out there, so why not get to cracking on working on some cars. So let's get started. Go ahead and start off with everyone's favorite modification, trusty zip tie for the hood latch. Something I didn't tell in the last video, it's kind of cool, I guess. This is actually a Save-On carbon fiber hood. It's paint matched, so it is a little bit lighter. This thing is like stupid light to be able to put up, but unfortunately it does kind of bend a little bit. So now what we're going to do is we're going to try to get in here and extract some bolts. So I'm actually going to be starting with this guy right here. Honestly, it's just easier to get to, and I just feel like doing the easy part first. So I'm going to go ahead and take this cover off just so I don't mar up the cover at all, and then I will try to get that bolt out of the manifold. Now, one thing that is important when you are going to extract a bolt or trying to take any hardened bolt out, it's really important that you go ahead and hit it with its best friend in the whole world, some PB Blaster. You definitely want to get some kind of penetrant in there prior to trying to get it out. It's just going to loosen it up and hopefully make it a little bit easier for you. So let's get some of that sprayed on. You don't need a ton, just enough to kind of cover it and let it seep down into there. And so we'll let that sit for a few minutes and then we'll get back to trying to get that bolt out. Okay, so now that it's been a few minutes, we're going to take our drill bit. You just want to go a little bit smaller, obviously, than the bolt itself. It's been penetrated, so it should be loosening up in there. We do have our mark in there from our punch. So we're going to slowly start drilling into the bolt. Want to make sure it's going a little off center, so I'm going to try to correct it. Go a little bit more back in towards the center. Nice and slow. And then go down into the bolt. So it is starting to go a little bit off center, so I'm going to go back in with the punch, put a new pilot hole, and then drill it out again. So it is definitely starting to get more of an indent towards the center, which is what we want. Because we really want to just make sure that we don't end up actually drilling where the threads are in the manifold itself. Because I mean, honestly, end of the day, it's not going to be the end of the world if we don't get to bolt down that shield with this one bolt, but I'd rather just keep it the right way and keep it looking nice. So we did get a little bit more of a hole, so now I'm just going to finish just drilling a little bit more straight down, so I'm not going into the threads or anything, and then we should be able to try to extract this bolt. So you can kind of see, if we get you close enough down in there, really what we're looking for is just the center of the bolt has been drilled out, and that'll make room for the extractor bit. So I just want to take a second to show you guys what I'm using. So it is just a DeWalt bolt extractor. It's pretty small. It's got reverse threads on it. So what you do is you just kind of stick it in as far as you can. And then when you reverse out, it should catch and then hopefully take the bolt out. So let's see if we can get that done. So the drill unfortunately kind of kept stalling on me. It must be in there kind of tight. So what I'm going to do is there's a 1/4 inch top up here. So I just got my 1/4 inch ratchet and I'm going to try to just get it out by hand. It is, and it broke. So future me here, things aren't going as great as you would hope, or as I would hope. The bolt, I did drill into it, which was fine. The pilot hole great. And then I ran into the misfortune of the extractor bit breaking off in the bolt. And I don't understand why these extractor sets, they're the hardest thing on the planet, except when you go to use them and then they snap and then it's left inside your bolt. You can't drill it out because it's such a hard material. You kind of just sit there and just destroy drill bits. So the only thing I've seen is you can try to chisel it. You try to chisel the piece out, reverse of how it went in, and then you can try and extract it again. I haven't gotten it done yet. I'm thinking I might just take the manifold off to make it easier to get a chisel and try to chisel the entire bolt back out. But luckily for me, the great thing that happened was as I was trying to drill that extractor bit out, the drill bit slipped and then put a hole in my radiator. So now I got to buy a new radiator, which luckily stock ones are only about $100. But definitely the morning is not going how I wanted it to. But now I guess I get the lovely task of seeing if we can now get this broken extractor bit out of our already broken bolt. So let's see if we can chisel it out. It was really a pain. I honestly do not understand how these things break like they're an eggshell, but then when you try to drill them, it's the absolute hardest material on the planet. So it's hard to see, but that's it. So it's just the tip of it. It won't focus obviously, but that broke off inside the bolt after the pilot hole was drilled. So you can see now, like I finally did get it back out. I do have a pilot hole again, so I am gonna try and use a different extractor this time, and we'll see, hopefully, maybe I'll be able to get it out. So as you can see, all I did was I took the extractor, the new one that I'm using, hopefully that won't break off, and I hammered it pretty deep into the hole that I drilled. And now I'm gonna use my impact on a low setting to hopefully try to get it out. So I've run into a little bit of a snag where the pilot hole for that broke bolt has started to get just a little too big on the inside, the diameter of the hole. So the extractor bit that I had hammered in there really isn't even biting on anything anymore. So what I'm gonna try to do is, I have done it in the past where I've taken just like a bigger Torx bit and I've hammered it into place, and then I was able to break bolts free in the past doing it. This one's really stuck, so I don't know that that's gonna work, but I figured it is worth a try, so I guess that's what I'm gonna do next. So what we're looking at here is an extra Torx bit that I have. I just hammered it in as hard as I could. Got my impact here. I'm honestly contemplating using my biggest impact, but I also don't want to break this attachment because it's not really an impact rated attachment. So I'm just gonna give it a go here with my smaller guy. This has to be the hardest stuck-in bolt I've ever seen in my life. But the Torx bit is actually starting to like take more of the bolt out, and it's kind of just rounding the inside. So I feel like I might need my big impact to be able to make it try to break that thing free. Okay, so I do have my M18 impact. This is the strongest thing that I have. This guy right here is an attachment that is like an impact rated attachment. This unfortunately is just for like a ratchet set. So I definitely have my safety glasses on, make sure nothing blows up, but let's give it a try. So yeah, you can see all it's really doing is it's kind of just rounding the inside. Like this is really one of the most stuck bolts I've ever seen. Like it might have to be completely drilled out and then retapped, but I mean at that point, I kind of just want to get a Force Performance manifold, just swap a whole brand new one on. Well, I definitely did not get very much at all accomplished. I've basically been sitting here this whole time trying to extract this bolt, but I'm not going to lie and pretend like with editing magic or something that I'm this amazing mechanic who got everything done in 2 seconds and it was no problem. I'm going to keep obviously working on it. You can see that it's now soaking in penetrant. There is like the hole in the middle of the bolt that I drilled, but it's really, really stuck in there. I did even try heat, that didn't work. And eventually I got to a point where my extractor bit, it wasn't really even biting on anything. The hole had gotten a little too big. So I tried hammering in like a Torx bit or like a bigger one or a hex head. And it honestly, it's so stuck that even with my M18 impact, it was actually just like rounding out the inside. Hey guys, future Eric here from the clip you just saw. So at the end of the last clip, cut off because my camera died, but I really wanted to stress the point that I was making about not trying to look perfect all the time, especially on social media. In reality, for the channel that I'm trying to grow here, we should honestly all be pretty transparent about everything. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos in my time, especially the automotive ones. Ask my poor family, they'll tell you. And I gotta say, the ones that I enjoy watching the most are the channels that not only showcasing the progress and the successes, but they also show the failures. It can be tough sometimes working on cars, especially if you are trying to record it and you're trying to be out there putting them on YouTube for people to see. It can definitely be very easy to get stressed out and start worrying about how you're looking to people. I certainly was in the last few clips looking pretty stressed out. But honestly, it can happen to anyone. I have a cousin who's, when he was 18, bought a really beautiful full bolt-ons WRX, and the very first bolt he tried to turn, being a sway bar mount, it snapped the bolt. Very first one. So it can happen to someone who's brand new at working on it and just loves cars. It can happen to someone who has more experience with it and has done it more, but as a hobby, and it can even happen to professionals. So all I would say is, especially if it's a project car where it doesn't really matter, try not to take it too serious, because at the end of the day it's fun working on cars, but it definitely can get stressful. So as far as I go, I'm going to continue trying to show you not only if I succeed at something, but also the failures as well, and try to be as transparent as possible. That being said, the whole reason I was making the video to begin with wasn't even about extracting a bolt, even though that's kind of what it turned into. It's about figuring out whether the Evo has HKS 272 cams or not. So I'm not going to let a little broken bolt ruin my day. I will buy a new radiator, get that installed, and it'll be more content about how to install a radiator. So I'm going to get back on it. It's another crappy day out. It's raining. So again, what better day to work on a car than when it's raining? Let's get going. So whenever you're working on anything with electrical, you want to start by disconnecting the battery. So we will be working on that. So check it out. Ready? I'm going to disconnect it now. And just like that, it's disconnected. And now we can continue on with taking this valve cover off. So I think to start, first thing I'm going to do is, if you look at the valve cover, not only is there valve cover bolts, but there also is like a lot of accessory stuff that has to come off. So I'm going to start going ahead, trying to take all these lines off, unbolt everything, just so I can basically get down to just the timing cover, or the cam cover, and just the bolts that hold the valve cover down. This obviously will come up as well, but yeah, let's get going on it. All right, so progress has been made. We have gone through and taken off a bunch of accessory type stuff that just gets in the way of the valve cover coming off. Coolant line to the throttle body, random mounts, unplugged all the coil pack harnesses, unplugged the O2 sensor. I did get the cam gear cover off. Turns out there's something else that's broken on this car that I didn't know about. This right here is the timing belt cover. It's a one-piece I guess. I thought it was a two-piece, because a lot of cars will have an upper and a lower timing cover. This was not me. I did not break that. It came that way, so maybe sometime in the future after we get the car going and get it tuned and all that, maybe eventually I'll try to pull the engine and try to replace that, kind of refresh things. But now that we got this much done, basically all we have left now is really just to try to unbolt these couple of bolts for the valve cover and try to get this guy up and off. See what's going on under there. So with that being said, I'm gonna throw it back on a time lapse and try to get this valve cover off. All right, hope you all enjoy that time lapse. We went ahead and took off all the bolts holding the valve cover in. The only thing I forgot to mention was there's two PCV valve system connections here. You just gotta take off. There was quite a few bolts. Like I said, I have the one broken here that I have to try to figure out. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 there. And then there's 3 across the back and 3 across the front. I had 2 in the front. But other than that, we should be ready to get this valve cover off. These are the bolts. They're a bit dirty, not gonna lie. There's a lot of oil and grease. I don't know, you can kind of see it. So we're in for a treat. I can't wait to see what it looks like under there. Hopefully it's not quite as bad as those bolts. It does seem like there's a bit of an oil leak, so could be a little gross, but I guess we'll find out. But I do stand corrected. That timing cover, apparently it is a 2-piece. I didn't know that. I watched a video about the valve cover job for one of these, and the guy took it off and it was the same thing. So I guess it is a 2-piece. It just kind of looks broken. But that being said, let's get on seeing what's under that valve cover. So there was just a bit more to be done before taking off. There was this sensor, clicks in back here onto this little post. You can just kind of use a flathead to click it off. So that comes off. Right here, we do have to disconnect. There's a coolant hose that comes up that goes over to the throttle body. I just had to unbolt right here to let it move freely. And then right here, it's just a little bit loose. So I can just kind of move it out of the way. Be careful though, it is just like a thin metal tube, so it could bend. Just make sure you loosen that one so that it can move before you start. But with that being said, we should be able to take it off now. So, got the valve cover off. Things do look pretty okay. Trying to toggle a light and a camera, so bear with me here. These are the cams. Turns out they are, in fact, HKS 272 cams. Honestly, super happy with the way the inside of the motor looks in the head. It's super clean. It's not sludgy, so obviously oil changes were done. There's really not a ton of scoring on the cams at all, so I would imagine they're like, I guess, relatively new. I know that the guy who I bought it from, he had bought it from a guy who was building it and then I think just kind of gave up on the engine. So I hope he did the cam break-in process, but I mean, it's running fine when it runs, so I'm not really too worried about that. But something I'm super excited about, which you guys probably aren't as excited as I am about it, but I did look at that little bolt that was broken off in the valve cover right here. I don't know if you can focus on it, but check this out. It still turns. It's not stuck at all. It's broken, but it's like I don't have to drill it out, because honestly, I was worried about having to drill with the head exposed, and I was just gonna try to cover it with like a plastic bag and tape it all down. But this is probably the best thing that's happened to me on a car recently. I consider myself very lucky for that. So aside from being a little bit dirty, the valve cover is honestly in pretty good shape. It's obviously a little rough with the paint job, but if you look underneath, all of the rivets for the baffle are still there. So it looks like this is the factory red. It hasn't been repainted at all, which is kind of nice. Like I said, I'm gonna clean it up, try to get it looking brand new again. But honestly, pretty happy with the way things have been going so far. A couple other small things that I did notice about the car that will have to be fixed before I can really consider it like done and all that. Just trying to like come back here to work, I realized a lot of these injector clips, they're all broken. Yep, all of them, every single one of them. They don't actually click in. I don't know if that's an Evo thing. I don't imagine that it is. I don't even know how easy it will be to try to find new injector clips. So I don't know if maybe I would have to splice in a new connector with like new injectors maybe. But honestly, pretty excited with the way things went today. Can't complain. I know that bolt is still stuck. It's really not the end of the world. And like I said earlier, just have fun working on cars. And if things go wrong, just figure out what to do. I'm going to try to jet out today to go down to Harbor Freight and possibly get a new extractor set with bigger extractors so that I might be able to work with that bigger hole that's now in it. But other than that, another idea that I've kind of been throwing around in my head, I was thinking about at the end of my videos trying to sprinkle in, not maybe every video, but sprinkling in like an account of the week, something where you can go check out people who are from the Massachusetts, New England area that go to a lot of shows, and check their rides out, follow them if you want, just to try to get the community around here and the car show community to be a little more close-knit. I thought it'd be kind of a cool idea. So I'd probably start today, first week, with my cousin Tyler. I was talking about the WRX. It's a really nice ride, so I'll probably insert it here. And if you want to go follow it, go give it a like, go give it a follow, and hopefully we can all hang out this summer at the car shows. But other than that, that's pretty much all I got for this one. So you guys know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. And until the next time, peace out and keep working.